John, how did you become an expert in webinars?
Great question. I really started when I was first building a business back in 2012. And it's so funny to look back now during coronavirus and the pandemic and how we all use Zoom and video calls and webinars. It's just part of our day-to-day life. But back in 2012, I quit a safe six-figure day job to start my own business. And I had one client, enough money for 30 days. I didn't have a travel budget. I had done the whole coffee meetings and speaking. And it was just, to me, even back in 2012, it felt so inefficient. And so what I really quickly realized was, why wouldn't I take the idea that I grew up watching, which was my parents were both teachers. They would be in front of a room of 30 people, college teaching, and teaching really resonated and worked. And, it was something I grew up in and loved, and I loved teaching and training. And I thought, why limit yourself to a live event or a limited room of people or talking one-on-one at coffee? Why not teach to a huge audience, a global audience? And so that was why I was interested in webinars, was this idea of anyone, anywhere in the world can get online with me live, and we can have this room full of people. I can teach and train and demonstrate expertise. And then at the end of the webinar, I can, sell a product or service or move people to a next step. And so where I really began that journey was just buying any and every course on how to do webinars, right? And learning the technology and the tools, and most importantly, the structure of how do you do a good webinar? How do you do a good presentation? And where that led me was to create both live webinars and on-demand webinars that would either, sell one of my online courses or pre-qualify people for consulting or coaching, and move them into a, sales conversation after the webinar. And it was fun. It was enjoyable. It was a ton of work. I mean, my first webinar, Jeff, I counted up, I had 47 iterations. So it's constant testing, tweaking, and adjusting. But once you get the webinar down and it converts and you get the result you want, it's been running for over a decade for me. And it's still bringing in sales and leads. And so that's the beauty of the technology we have. We're in the best era in human history to monetize your knowledge and monetize your expertise and reach anyone, anywhere. And that's the beauty of webinars.
There's a lot of marketing strategies and tactics out there, obviously, these days, more than ever before. So why should B2B marketers in particular consider using webinars versus everything else? What are the big advantages of webinars?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big advantage of a webinar is there's a few things. One is people are still buying based on know, like, and trust. It's still belly to belly, right? So next to you and me being in the room together, next to you and me talking at a booth on a convention floor, next to you and me having lunch or having coffee, next to me being on stage speaking, there's no more powerful method than video. So if you're doing a webinar and you're on camera, and the second piece of this is you're demonstrating expertise. That's the big thing that webinars really give you the advantage of, is you can bottle up all your best training and tips and expertise, and you can pre-package it and still do it as a live webinar. So whether you want to do an on-demand webinar or what they call a hybrid webinar, for example, I'll come on, I'll bring in the personality, the know, like, and trust. So you see me on camera, I'm a real person, I'm sitting here, I'm talking to you, but then I'll have a pre-done training that I recorded, I edited, I polished, I put in great slides or examples or video clips. With today's webinar technology, I can simply come on live, introduce myself, warm up the room, talk to the individual audience members, hit play on a pre-done recording about how to generate leads with LinkedIn or whatever, and it's pitch perfect. It doesn't take any energy. I don't have to be on and presenting and worrying about all the tech. It's just done. And what happens is when you do a webinar that way, you come on live, you get to meet everyone, they get your personality, they feel connected, it's a real live event, but the training takes care of itself. It's pitch perfect, it's polished, they get value, and you're sitting back conserving your energy, watching the training with them, and I monitor the comments and launch polls and interact with people who are reacting to the training while it's playing. And then I come back on at the end of the training live, and that's where I can offer my close, right? My product, my service, the next step, fill out this form. And it's just, I guess the thing I would say if you're in B2B marketing or, not sure about using webinars, it's the most kind of efficient and effective and easy way to scale your time, scale your personality, scale your expertise to a massive group of people, and still get those key, like real life, face-to-face kind of human pieces that are critical to any sale of any type of product or service anywhere. Like at the end of the day, you're still selling a product or service to another human being. That human being wants to feel a connection to you. They want to feel like you're authentic and genuine and transparent and likable and trustworthy and an authority. And webinars do all that. Plus, they help you demonstrate expertise, demonstrate you can solve someone's problem, demonstrate you've done it before, share your journey so they get to know, like, and trust you even more. I really haven't found a more powerful tool than that as far as products and services, lead generation, lead qualifying. It's kind of a perfect storm.
Why aren't more marketers using webinars? What kind of misconceptions do you see that most people have?
Yeah, I think a lot of them just, well, most webinars are boring. You're thinking, well, if I have to go out like that and do one of those, I would rather like just, no. Like most webinars are lame and boring, and it's just someone reading text on a screen and you're falling asleep. And I think a lot of people think, well, that's just a boring thing, right? What they don't understand about webinars is it's you. It's your unique personality. It's your unique communication style. It's your unique storytelling. It's your unique approach. It's a canvas, right? It's like having your own TV show. And so I think that's one misconception, is they think it has to be boring and lame like all the other webinars are. And then I think the other thing is, I think a lot of people are afraid of the tools and the tech, and it just seems really complicated and it seems really hard. And so I think there's that resistance to it of, well, it's just going to be too difficult. And the reality is, a webinar is no different than you getting on stage or getting in a room and talking to people and giving a presentation. So however complicated or uncomplicated you make that, that's your webinar. So if your normal approach to speaking is, I just get up and tell great stories and everyone laughs and I can hold a room just with my personality, you can do that on a webinar and have success. If your normal approach to speaking is, hey, I'm going to bring in really cool visuals and catch people's attention with case studies and examples and great imagery and videos, then use that, right? It's all just storytelling and presenting. And I think people get all hung up and fixated on the tools and, oh, it's so hard. And which software do I plan on? And, how do I do the automated this and that? And the reality is, like anything, there's a learning curve, but it's really not that hard. And a lot of the webinar companies now, frankly, have concierge level help where they'll set up all the tools and tech for you, and you just show up and present. So, I think those are probably the two big objections. And maybe the other one is people think they're overdone and we're all kind of Zoom fatigue and webinar fatigue and we're worn out. And again, I think that has more to do with it being boring. You don't get tired of socializing. You don't get tired of talking to people who are interesting and fun. You don't get tired of great teachers. You don't get tired of great entertainers. And it's just because it's online, I don't buy that. I think people will still show up and engage with you if you're entertaining, inspiring, informative, and they can get value. Like, I haven't seen any drop off.
So how do you get people to show up?
Well, there's lots of different ways. My kind of favorite secret sauce, a lot of people obviously buy ads, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, whatever. YouTube ads is a really good one that a lot of people have used because people are already watching videos on YouTube. And because the webinar, you're the brand, it makes sense to run a YouTube ad almost like a movie trailer where you can talk about your webinar and be on camera and then link, hey, click the link below to watch the full presentation. So like, I really would be bullish on YouTube ads. As far as what I do, I don't pay anything. I don't pay for ads. I just use LinkedIn. Like, that's my place. So I go on LinkedIn, and whether I do it manually or have help or, use different tools, you can use LinkedIn where there's 900 million people around the world, all professionals, and you can slice and dice and create a list of your exact ideal webinar attendee. So I can say, I want to get healthcare CFOs at companies that have at least 10 employees that are based in California. And you can instantly type a couple things into LinkedIn and it spits out a list of 100 of them or 2,000 of them or how many ever. Then you just go on LinkedIn and you send each of them a one-on-one message or an invite and you talk to them. And you just say, hey, curious to see your healthcare CFO. Just wondering, are you ever looking for any tips on cash flow and finances and increasing profitability? The reason I ask is I actually have a great live training coming up where I'm going to walk through a case study of how I helped a California-based hospital increase profitability 72% while reducing expenses 27%. It's a case study. Would it make sense? Would you like to attend? So like it's that specific on LinkedIn. And again, if you're qualifying people to fit the topic of the webinar, promising to solve some pain points or share a story or example, people on LinkedIn go, yeah, send it to me. You know, they raise their hand. It's very simple and free and fast. And you're immediately getting people that are interested and qualified, as opposed to just blasting out ads and hoping people find it. It's more effective to kind of knock on their door, introduce yourself and say, hey, I realize based on what you do, this might be of interest to you, this topic, since it's kind of in line with your job. Would you like to check out this training? Would you like to, join me? And hundreds of people will say yes. And that's how I've gotten traffic on webinars for over a decade.
Talk a little bit about what kind of products and services work best through webinars.
Yeah, great question. I think tons of people, at least in my world, as a small business owner, course creator, a lot of people sell online courses or training programs. And I've had success with that. Obviously, if you're going to sell an online course, a do-it-yourself, a training program, whatever it is, the pricing is really the key thing. With webinars, what I have found is it all depends on your audience, who you're selling it to, as far as how to price it. Should it be a $47 course or a $4,700 course? Well, that depends on who you're talking to, right? If it's hospital CFOs of multi-million-dollar corporations, you're probably selling something higher ticket. That said, I've had a ton of success selling online courses, to different price points for audiences. It's just a natural, easy way to do it. You come on, you talk about the topic, you share your hero's journey, and then you present your course or whatever as, hey, I walked this path, I figured it out. If you're having the same challenges and want the playbook, here it is. The other thing I've had a ton of success with, and we do this for clients too, is say you're a coach or a consultant or just have a business where you're like, I need more qualified leads. I'm tired of tire kickers. I'm tired of random people. I start every call at zero. They know nothing about me. I have to explain my whole thing. I have to educate them. I have to really get them to believe in me. And then I have to try to sell all on one call. It's so hard. What I do is I say, why don't we bottle all that up as an on-demand webinar or a live webinar where you use it to pre-qualify people, meaning you share what it is you do, who you serve, tell stories, tales from the trenches about how you've helped people achieve X, Y, Z. And then at the end of the webinar, your call to action isn't give me money. It's, hey, if this is resonating, if you're really enjoying this, there's a couple different ways we can move forward. One would be we can, mutually explore if it makes sense for you to partner with me as a coach or partner with me to do your SEO or whatever it is. And then you can send them to an online form, like a type form or whatever, make them jump through that hoop while they're excited, while they're emotional, coming off your webinar to say, yeah, I really want to work with you. Let me tell you everything about my business. And then you can qualify them. And that leads into them booking a sales call, where now they come into a sales call with you. They've just been through your webinar. They know all about you, your hero's journey, your backstory, what you do. You've demonstrated expertise. They're a much more qualified lead, easier to close than, yeah, I need a coach. I just found you on Google. What do you got? Right? So that approach to webinars can work really well, where, again, you use it to qualify people and get them excited and get them to kind of fall in love with you and your brand and your solutions. And then say, now, if you want to take the next step, let's talk one-on-one. And that's another really good use for webinars.
So you've touched on a number of the steps here. So maybe from a 30,000-foot view, can you kind of give us the framework of a successful webinar from first step to last step?
Absolutely. So The first thing, again, it depends if it's a live webinar or an on-demand or a hybrid, a mix of the two. I'll just say the most successful type of webinar is going to be what I would call a hybrid. So it's going to have a set time and date. You're going to show up live, right? And step one is you welcome everyone, you warm up the room. So what I do is as people are attending the webinar, right, or logging into the room, before I start the presentation and start talking and presenting, I say, hey, I want to welcome you. Hey, I see Jeff is here. Jeff, tell me in the comments, where are you from? What type of work do you do? Hey, I see Sally is here. Sally, let me know in the comments, where are you from? What type of work you do? Get people involved right away. Get the crowd talking to you, right? And what happens is then you call them out by name. They're all excited. Oh my gosh, John just said my name. Like he acknowledges me. He sees me, right? And then they start putting in the comments, I'm Jeff. I'm from Asheville, North Carolina. I own a pipe fitting company. I will see that in the comments and I'll riff and be like, oh, cool. That's, you're from North Carolina, Tar Heels or Duke, where's your allegiance lie, and I'll riff about sports, or I'll say, oh, pipe fitting. Cool. My brother-in-law has a company, how's business? And then the next person will type and so you start getting the chat going and the room warmed up and ice breaking and talking to people. So step one is warm up the audience, chat them up. Step two is kind of then quickly lay out the expectation. Hey, for the next few minutes, whatever it is, I'm going to help you understand how to X, right? I'm going to present the issue and then I'm going to tell you how to fix it. So for the next few minutes, we're going to sit together and I'm going to show you how to structure a wildly successful webinar. I'm going to give you 7 specific steps. So without further ado, let's dive in. And then what I do, so warm up the crowd, introduce the topic, kind of make the promise. Then I hit play on my training and I say, this is a hybrid webinar. So I have a pre-done video of the training. And I say, now I'm going to step off camera and behind the keyboard, and I'm actually going to share with you a training I put together that walks through the 7 steps. And I'm still here. I'm going to be in the comments. I just won't be on camera. Then I hit play on this video. And since it's a pre-done training, it's pitch perfect. There's no ums or ahs. There's not me low energy. I'm not off, right? It's my A game. It's my best stuff that I've edited and tightened, and it's just really good. And I'm, since I can do video editing, I'm editing stock video and screenshots and images, and it's entertaining and it's informative and it's demonstrating expertise. And so then while that training part is playing, I'm in the comments chatting people up, launching a poll. Hey, have you ever been through this? Vote in the poll. Hey, what do you think of this? Share in the comments if you can relate to this part of the training, to keep the audience engaged, right? People will leave if they don't think you're paying attention or even know they're there, right? But if I say, Jeff in North Carolina, and tag you in the chat, you're going to feel like, whoa, he's calling me out. I better chime in here. I'm into this, And so you're always trying to keep the audience engaged. So you go, warm up, introduction, and promise, play the training. It's pitch perfect. While the training's playing, you're in the comments, chatting, doing the polls, keeping everyone going. Then the training finishes and you come back on camera live and you basically then move into whatever your pitch is, right? And you say, hey, tell me, did that resonate? If that resonated, type yes in the comments, and everyone will start doing yes, yes, yes. And it just brings this social proof of people going, yeah, that was awesome. I found value, super good. And then I'll say, that's fantastic. So basically the next steps are blank. And then you just launch into your pitch and you basically say, so what I want to do today is, anyone, if this is resonating, if you want to take action immediately, and and I can go through everything that goes into a good pitch, but basically here's your opportunity today. You can get this course for this special pricing only here live right now and these bonuses. Or, hey, if this is resonating and you want to explore whether or not it makes sense for us to partner together and us to help you implement and create a webinar for you, I'm going to link you to a form where I can learn more about you. And the way I position that is, I want to make sure I don't waste your time. And I want to learn more about you, your business, your unique challenges, your situation, your audience, your, budgets and ROI and everything. And then I can give you some custom personal feedback about, oh, you know what, based on what you're telling me, webinars aren't a good fit, or based on what you're telling me, you should go this route, or based on what you're telling me, yeah, we should have a call. I think we can help you. And so either way, you're coming on at the end live to kind of, offer whatever it is you can offer, whatever the next step is. And then you always just leave with, the sign off and whatever is next. Like, hey, I'll be back doing this again next month or next week. And then that builds that continuity of people. I used to do this, and I'm going to get back to it. Every single Friday at 12 noon Central, I would do a thing called Noon with Nemo. And it was a hybrid webinar every single Friday at 12 noon. And every single Friday, I would come on, do this exact thing, riff and teach on a topic. And at the end, I would either sell an online course related to the topic, or I would point people to a type form so that we could qualify and try to get done for you agency clients to either build them a webinar or do a LinkedIn campaign or create content or whatever it was. So that's kind of at a high level what I really feel like goes into a great webinar.
John, maybe you can give us some benchmark metrics about along the lines of if you invite X number of people, 100 people, what kind of results would you expect coming out the other end?
Yeah, I think it all depends on the audience and the industry and the niche. So it always depends on that. And so this is where you really have to know, who am I targeting? What's their week or day look like usually? When are they usually available? Do they want to attend a live webinar? Would they rather just watch it on demand when, they have time outside of work? So the answer is it really depends. Like, I've had webinars where I invited 100 people and 60 to 70 show up. And that's like, wow, right? And I've had other ones where I invite 110 show up. And so the real answer is you have to test and tweak and adjust. So I mentioned to you, I think off air before we started, like, my first webinar I ever did to sell my LinkedIn Riches online course, I learned so much. I did 47 versions of it. So the number one thing is you learn, you do it and you learn. And the same with show up rates. Like, there is no hard and fast, in my opinion. People will guarantee you all kinds of stuff. I've just learned what works for me. So for example, if I go out on LinkedIn and invite 100 people and they say that they're going to sign up, then I opt them in, right? Because the way that LinkedIn works is if you tell me yes on LinkedIn, typically I can look at your profile, pull your email off it, and register you for the webinar myself. So then now you get these chase emails. Hey, thank you. You're registered for the webinar. And then a reminder email. And then, hey, we're going live email. And so I'll chase you through automated email follow-ups, and I'll chase you through LinkedIn messages, on a coordinated effort of like, hey, on this day we're going live. I'll hit you on LinkedIn and hit you on email. A lot of it, the fortune's in the follow-up. And one of the things I found was you can really affect your show-up rate. Even if people register, the way to get them to show up is really, there's a couple different things. One is remind them of why they should be so excited to attend. Like, hey, just as a reminder, here's what you're going to discover, and go, oh yeah, that's right. I can't wait to learn this stuff. Or follow up and make it feel very personal. So like the subject lines of my webinar reminder emails are things like, see you in a few hours is the subject line. People are like, see me, well, what's going on? Like, do we have a meeting? Like, so they'll open it. Oh, that's right. I signed up for a webinar, as opposed to today's training, 2 p.m. They don't care. Or I'll have a subject line that'll say our meeting today, or today's meeting, or can't wait to meet you today. People will open that because it's one-to-one and personalized, and they'll think, oh, I have a meeting with John today. What's this? Is this on my calendar? And that will jog their memory of, oh, okay. So part of it is, and I learned all that, right, through doing the webinar 47 times. And one of the best things I learned early on was ask for feedback. After the webinar, email everyone who attended and say, hey, just would love your feedback, good, bad, or ugly, on the presentation today. I'm not here to move anything forward. I'm not here to try to pressure you into a call or a sale. I just legitimately want to know, did this resonate? Was it helpful? Good, bad, or ugly? And people would tell me. They'd be like, yeah, you lost me when you did this. Or I just tuned out because it felt like you didn't even know if I was there or not. Right. And so that's when I started thinking, oh, I got to warm people up at the beginning. Or, yeah, it felt like your course cost too much. I was like, oh, okay, I got to build more value in before I offer the price. Or, yeah, I was interested in the course, but I really wished you had a payment plan. Oh, okay, I'll put a payment plan into that part. So that's how you keep doing it. Or, yeah, I found this part of the presentation was amazing because I could implement that right away. This part felt too hard and like too big a lift, so it lost me. And so Yeah, it's a long answer to your simple question, but it really depends. And it's really about testing and tweaking and knowing for your audience. For example, if you want to do a webinar for stay-at-home moms, don't have your webinar time at 10 a.m. because they're busy with their kids. Have it at 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m. when their kids are sleeping, right? So you have to know your audience as opposed to corporate C-suite people. Don't try to do it on Sunday at 4 o'clock. Do it, Monday through Friday, middle of the day. And that's when they're working and busy and, or maybe do it on a Friday because they don't really want to work hard on a Friday, but they'll do a training to say that they're working. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I do Noon with Nemo on Fridays. People, Friday lunch hour, they like to just kind of relax and they know my style is going to make them laugh and have fun and I'll learn something. And, a lot of times they're in a good mood heading into the weekend. So they'll spend some money and, hey, this would be fun. I can dive into the course over the weekend. So hopefully that helps answer it.
What kind of skill sets do you need on a team to then produce a successful webinar?
Yeah, the biggest thing is your personality. So the presenter, it's just like a public speaker. If you're boring and bland and have no charisma and no passion and no energy, your webinar will be a colossal failure. So if that's not your strong suit, bring in someone who has that strong suit, right? Or pre-record it when you can try to hype yourself up. The biggest thing is you just have to have communication skills. And what do people respond to, right? When you go to a live talk, what engages you? It's reverse engineer that for a webinar. So I would say the skills are storytelling. The skills are energy, enthusiasm, passion, charisma. People respond to that. It's confidence is contagious, charisma, enthusiasm. If you're not excited about your topic and can't wait to share these amazing discoveries, why should I be? Right? If it's a boring, bland presentation with just a bunch of text, I'm going to fall asleep. But if you're, the other thing too with webinars is being unpredictable and surprising people. So that's that cave person part of your brain that goes, I better pay attention because this guy's doing stuff that doesn't fall into the normal webinar pattern. So I have to stay alert because I don't know what's going to happen next. So that's why when I'll do a webinar, sometimes I'll come and I'll be wearing sunglasses or I'll wear a funny hat. Or one time I did a webinar on Halloween. I had a Halloween mask on and everyone started laughing and going crazy. And it was like, oh yeah, this is unpredictable. It's live. What is he going to do next? Or I'll bring in imagery or visuals or film clips or, humorous memes to kind of wake people back up during the presentation. So coming in and understanding storytelling is key. How to keep people engaged, right? Which is interrupting patterns and being unpredictable. And, I'm a big believer in humor, right? I have a phrase I use for webinars called infotainment. Give them the information, but do it in an entertaining way. Infotainment. Inform them, but be entertaining. It's, the biggest sin in marketing is to be boring. So you don't have to be crazy and scream and run around if that's not your personality, but then bring in something else that will entertain them. So if you're talking about accounting software, bring in some funny accounting memes or film clips from, The Office about Kevin the accountant, right? Like lighten it up, like have some fun. And I think the other big thing is people overthink it and they want to just overload you with data and don't over teach. Like that's the other thing with webinars is focus on small, simple, quick wins that demonstrate expertise. And people say, oh, I can do more with that. So for example, if I want to sell my LinkedIn Riches online course, I'm not going to come on and tell you every single thing about how to get a client from LinkedIn. I'm going to come on and say, hey, let's just do something simple. Let's look at your profile right now. What does your LinkedIn profile headline say? Oh, it says president, CEO, blah, 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 whatever my job title is. I'll say, okay, let's fix that. Let's make it client facing because this is a strategy. Let's have your profile headline, which you can do right now while you're watching, change it to service I provide plus audience. So instead of saying I'm the CEO of Nemo Media Group, I can, which is most headlines, I can say, the service I provide, LinkedIn lead generation, and then an audience for small business owners, coaches, and consultants. That's a quick, simple, easy, digestible win that demonstrates expertise because they go, oh, I get it. If my LinkedIn headline says what I do and who it's for, within 2 seconds, they can know if they want to connect with me and what they would get out of a relationship with me, because they'll see the services I have and who I have it for. So that's just a small thing. And I think the other big piece is when you're sharing a case study, I have a very simple formula for that. What it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. And that's really the same too if you're sharing your own hero's journey. What it was like, I was in this situation, this was the problem, this was the pain. What happened, I did these things, I discovered these things, I implemented these things. What it's like now, I'm in a great place, profits increased, or the client had success. And just keep it simple, right? People want simple, digestible information. And the last thing I would say, the other skill is package your solutions as stories. So don't just say, we increased profits 72% for this client. Tell me the story. How did you do that? Because when you tell it as a story, then people remember. So for example, when I'm trying to use webinars to pre-qualify people for LinkedIn lead generation, we have a done-for-you LinkedIn lead generation agency. I will present a solution as a story. I'll say, hey, would you like, I'll approach accountants, bookkeepers, and CPAs, right, as one niche audience. And I'll say, hey, just curious, would you be interested in a webinar or training on, how a CPA that we helped, a CPA from North Carolina, she actually got so many clients from LinkedIn, she had to turn off her LinkedIn campaigns, and her husband actually had to quit his day job to come work for her. What? Like, that's a story. Like, what's the story? Like, how and why was that so successful? As opposed to me saying, hey, would you like to attend a webinar where a CPA was able to get 15 new clients in 60 days? Yeah, that's okay. But it was so good, she had to turn things off, and her husband literally, and this is a true story, like quit his day job, right? And so that's a solution as a story. And when I present the story, the case study, it's here's Catherine, here she is. She lives in North Carolina wearing her Tar Heels gear, and here's her husband. And, literally here's what we did on LinkedIn tactically and strategically, and here's the end result. But you'll remember the story. And that's really the secret to all of this.
What size budget does it take to create and run then a successful webinar?
Nothing. Okay, that's not fair. To use the tools involved, like there are free tools. You can get really good webinar software for a couple $100 a year or less. Okay. A good microphone, it depends on how much you want to do yourself versus how much you want to outsource, and how big of production value do you want? I would suggest, start very simple and very just easy to validate your ideas and learn. You don't want to spend a bunch of money to get high quality production and lighting and cameras and angles and stock footage if it turns out no one is interested in your product or service. So I think that's a mistake that I have made in the past, is I'm going to put all this time and money into graphics and visuals and incredible presentation, but I haven't validated that people are even interested in it. Whereas when other times I've just been on camera looking like I do here, which is like a schmo, like with a hat on and a t-shirt, just riffing and talking about, hey, I'm just curious, are you guys using LinkedIn to get leads? Would it be helpful if I just walk through some tips? And I'll just screen share and show stuff. And people are like, wow, amazing. How do I work with you? It's like, oh, okay. I should scale up that idea, right? So I think in the beginning, don't spend a lot of time and money on it. Just, ask people, qualify them. Are you interested in this topic? Does this sound like something you'd be interested in learning about? If so, here's the time and date. Here's what you're going to learn. Yes, invest some money into webinar software. And like I use Webinar Jam and EverWebinar. Zoom has webinars. There's tons of companies. It's a few $100 a year, but it'll give you everything you need: the platform, the landing pages, the emails, the delivery systems. And then that way, then the rest is just how much do you want to spend on any equipment you need, lights or microphones or cameras. I do them like this. Just I have a USB microphone on my laptop, and then I either do screen sharing and show them stuff on screen, or I create a slide deck, or I create a video and put in stock images and pre-edit it. So it's really not that expensive. It's not tens of thousands of dollars. Again, unless you're hiring an outside company, do it all for me, script it all out, record it all, edit it all. So it really just depends on your own situation.
for those in our group, those in our audience who are interested in webinars, might need some help, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Yeah, great question. Thank you for asking. Webinarsthatwork.net is the website, and we can link to it. But if you go to webinarsthatwork.net, the front page, I have free trainings, videos, resources. So that's a great way. There's also, contact. You can find out more. NemoMediaGroup.com is our done for you agency where we'll do a webinar for you. And LinkedIn is always the best place to find me personal one-on-one. So if you go to LinkedIn and just look for John Nemo, JohnNemo, like the fish movies, Finding Nemo, you'll find me on LinkedIn. That's where I spend all my time, obviously, because we do a lot of LinkedIn lead generation too. So webinarsthatwork.net, or just look me up on LinkedIn, John Nemo, and I'll be happy to chat with you.